Welcome back to another episode of All Out Nevada, your go-to podcast for insightful glimpses into the Nevada judiciary. I'm your host, Seth Easley, representing Supreme Court Nevada Administrative Office of the Courts. Today's episode focuses on a court model designed specifically for a population that falls into the gap between juvenile and adult systems, young adults. I'm joined by Judge Justin Champagne, presiding over YAR Court, or Youth Achieving Recovery Court. This specialty court serves misdemeanor offenders between the ages of 18 and 25 who are struggling with substance abuse disorders and co-occurring mental health disorders. Judge Champagne, thank you very much for joining me today.
Seth, thank you very much for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity to let everybody know about the great things that we're doing in our Youth Achieving Recovery Court. From here on out, I'm just going to call it YAR Court, but it is YAR Youth Achieving Recovery.
Okay, good to know. YAR Court, and that it's easier for me to remember. So to start off, can you just give us an overview? What is YAR Court?
So YAR Court is a specialty court that is run by the Reno Municipal Court. If anybody is familiar with the drug court model, that is what we are working with the YAR Court in Reno Municipal Court. Our population is offenders between the ages of 18 to 25 who suffer from either a substance use disorder or a mental health disorder or a combination of both. It is a program that lasts typically about 12 months. We can go a little shorter or a little longer depending on the participants. It is a court where the participants at this point are able to have their cases dismissed, so we do call it a diversion court.
Okay, so you mentioned that this diversion court is geared specifically for 18 to 25-year-olds. So why did the court see a need to create a separate track specifically for that age group?
I think that throughout the last several years, there's been a real recognition that there is a difference in the adolescent brain, the young adult brain, and the adult brain. Mm-hmm. I think that we were smart enough and we were lucky enough that Judge Dorothy Nash Holmes back in 2014 saw this need to be able to treat these offenders in a little bit of a different way. Because they are so young, studies have shown that their brains are not fully formed, that the same approaches that we use to deal with adults, strict punishments, things like that, do not work as well with these people in the 18 to 25-year-old cohort. The treatment aspect is different, and so what we've tried to do is to develop a program that is centered around the way that these brains work, the way that these defendants work in that 18 to 25-year-old age group.
Okay, so you kind of touched on it a little bit, but can we expand on that a little more? So when it comes to treatment and support, how do the needs of young adult offenders differ from older participants, and how is that reflected in the way YAR Court is structured?
Well, I think that, again, I'll go back to the fact that their brain is not fully formed. Right. They don't respond the same way. We are all, people listening to this podcast are probably attorneys that have gone through years and years of training and education, but these are people that have different motivations. If you think about it, a lot of these kids have been raised with screens in front of their faces. They have shorter attention spans. They have other things that prompt them. And so we try to reach that through a little bit more of a youth-oriented approach as far as from the bench. We also have contracted specifically with Reno Stronger, which is a treatment provider that specializes in working with young offenders. They have a different approach to that. Plus, we also are trying to incorporate an educational aspect into the program where we try to help kids get their GEDs, get their high school diplomas, and get them centered towards some sort of career or educational development. We've worked with TMCC to try and get a track working for these kids. And so I think that the combination of a younger approach, a little bit more of a softer approach from the bench, the different approach in counseling, and the work with the educational and the vocational rehabilitation or the vocational educational aspect brings it a different approach and really reaches these 18 to 25-year-olds.
All right, that's awesome. So we've established that this age group needs a different approach. So what makes young adults an important population when we're talking about early intervention?
From a coldly financial point of view, it makes a lot of sense to invest as much money as you can up front so that you don't have to spend that money later on down the line. If we can engage in early intervention with these clients when they're headed down the wrong path, if we can get them towards the right path when they're 19 years old, hopefully we never see them again in the criminal justice system. If we can help them gain the educational or vocational skills that they need, they can graduate out of our program, move on with their lives, get married, have kids, have jobs, and become productive members of society. If we wait until somebody is 30 years old, they've got a criminal history already. They have those patterns already set. They have all of these deficits as far as the societal aspects of being able to get a job. Those are already set. And so if we can reach these people at a younger age, the hope is we can get them the help that they need now so that we don't have to see them later. We can put them in a happier life. We don't have to deal with them in the criminal justice system.
So apart from them being an important population for early intervention, would you say that this age group is particularly well suited in any way for early intervention at this age?
I think that the population we see is particularly suited for early intervention. Again, we see people in our courts from all aspects and all walks of society. But I think that if you see a client who's in that 18 to 25-year-old age group and is picking up multiple criminal charges or fairly serious criminal charges, there are perhaps some societal or familial issues that we can address. We can look at some of those mental health issues, and if we can get some of those problems addressed earlier on, then I think that they are much more amenable to long-term behavioral change, which is really what we're looking for, so that we don't see them back in the criminal justice system. We don't see that recidivism problem that we have with many offenders.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so kind of moving on a little bit onto the program-specific design. So can you kind of just walk us through briefly, what does participation in YAR Court look like from entry to graduation?
So I don't want to brag, but I think that the Reno Municipal Court, all of our specialty courts have a great system in place. But I think with the YAR Court especially, I think that the individualization that we are able to provide is what really gives us a key. So from square one, a defendant gets arrested, they come to court, and they are convicted of that misdemeanor offense. If they would like to get into the specialty court program, that option is presented to them by their defense attorney, sometimes even by the court. It is a voluntary program. We can't force somebody into treatment. But if they do choose to go into the program, then the first thing that we do is we do a group of individual assessments for each client to figure out what it is that they specifically need. So we do an intake assessment. We do initially a drug and alcohol assessment. Then we will do an intake assessment with a case manager. And then finally, we will do a mental health assessment with a licensed clinical social worker who will then give us a kind of an entire social picture of where this person is and what would possibly help them. Once they're accepted into the program, it's a combination of pro-social activities, court appearances, treatment at private professional treatment, and then going into self-help meetings. So they will start out meeting with the court on a weekly basis. I will assess their progress. I meet them personally. I try to develop a personal bond with each of these individuals. I learn about their families. I learn about their education. And so I see them on a weekly basis for the first phase of the program. Eventually, they come to see me once every 2 weeks and then once a month as they are progressing in their program. While they're in the program, we require them to engage in treatment. They will typically do one individual session and one group session with a professional licensed alcohol and drug counselor. Then we do require them also to do a self-help twice a week. That could be something like a 12-step program. something like smart recovery, something like going to the Buddhist temple here in Reno and doing yoga for recovery, going and doing physical activity, groups like Reps for Recovery. All of that counts as pro-social self-help activities. So with that combination, we have somebody go through the program for typically about a 12-month period. When they are completed with the program, then they are able to have their charges dismissed. I must also stress, and I can't believe I forgot to talk about this, obviously sobriety is a humongous factor in somebody's ability to be able to benefit from treatment and to be able to comply with behaviors that are required of them. So part of the self-help, like I said, they do go to AA or NA meetings or smart recovery, something along those lines. And the court does also require regular random drug testing to make sure that they are maintaining their sobriety.
It's pretty incredible. It sounds like it's a very tailored, individualized approach you take with these participants. And there is something I wanted to touch on, and you mentioned these relationships you build with participants. So YAR Court emphasizes regular interaction with the judge and a multidisciplinary team. How does that type of engagement impact participants?
I think that the key to working with this population is to figure out what their intrinsic motivation is. And that's where the individual time and energy that we spend with each client really pays off. And the key, I think, is from my point of view, is to allow the staff to have the time to work with these participants and see what it is that excites them, whether it's being with their family, whether it is a young lady who's come through who's pregnant and wants to be able to deliver a clean, healthy baby, whether it's somebody who wants to improve their skills to become a plumber. We can help explain to them why going to treatment, taking their meds, staying clean and sober, and staying out of trouble can help them reach those ultimate goals. Sometimes I think that these young people that are coming through feel overwhelmed by how do I get to where I want to be? And we can help them break those down into discrete steps and show them that there is a realistic path for them to be successful and happy. From a judicial point of view, what I try to do is to have a realistic, honest conversation with all of the participants when they come through. I don't try to have some very stiff demeanor. Obviously, I am the judge. I sit on the bench. I have my robe, but I try to let them know that I'm a human being. I understand that they are human beings. I expect good faith efforts and hard work from them. But I am a realistic person, and I want to work with them to figure out what it is that they need to succeed. We don't take it from a regular adversarial crime punishment point of view, and I think that approach really pays great dividends with this population.
And I feel like that this regular, constant interaction would make them feel quite supported and ultimately contribute to their successful completion of the program.
Absolutely. Again, I don't want to brag too much, but I do believe that somebody from the bench speaking directly to somebody and telling them, I'm really proud of the work that you have done. I see the struggles that you have had, and I am proud of the work that you have done. I think that a lot of times some of these people have never had anybody in any sort of authoritarian position praise them and let them know what they can do to do well. And I think that can hopefully change the mindset that they have towards not only the judicial system, but the system in general. We have marshals that are assigned in our courtroom. They wear full uniforms. They are law enforcement officers. They enforce drug testing protocols and things like that. But they are human beings. They work with these clients individually. They come to their houses. They help them, and these participants can see that it's not just an uncaring, unhumanistic system, that we are there to try and help them.
Absolutely. I can see that validation, that recognition of their efforts to bettering themselves would be really impactful. And like, to your point, to a lot of these participants, they probably have never heard that before.
And many of our participants come from generational problems.
Right.
Parents that have been through the criminal justice system, parents that have been on probation who have had a probation officer who hates their participant and is trying to trip them up. They've had negative interactions with the courts. They've maybe had people tell them that judges are out to hurt them. And so we try to show them that we are, in this situation, we are a helping, problem-solving court.
Right.
We are not a punitive court.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this episode of All Out Nevada. We're always striving to bring you valuable insights and education, not just for judicial officers, but for anyone interested in the Nevada judiciary. If you find our content helpful or intriguing, please share your experience with your friends, family, and colleagues. Your support helps us reach a broader audience and ensures that more people can benefit from our discussions. Thank you for listening and supporting All Out Nevada. So, YAR Court participants suffer from substance use disorders or co-occurring mental health conditions. How does the program address those challenges in an integrated way? And I know you actually kind of touched on this already, but if there's anything you want to add to that.
Well, I think that I could go into each of these discrete steps a little bit deeper to explain that the way that everything works together. Again, I think that one of the main aspects and one of the really important things is the way that we approach the treatment of both the mental health and the substance use disorders. So we have a partnership with Reno Stronger. All of our participants work together and go to the same treatment. So they can work in a group together. There are some other outside participants that go to Reno Stronger. It's not solely for the YAR participants, but they can work together as a cohort and they can see the strengths and weaknesses. They can help each other through problems. The lady who runs Reno Stronger by the name of Danny Doring has been around in the Reno community for decades, really knows her stuff, and is able to really approach these kids. So I think that that's one of the pillars is us being able to have that partnership with a great treatment provider that understands our population. The second thing that we can really provide is individualized case management. Diana Flores is our case manager who's assigned specifically to YAR Court. She has individual files on each client, knows exactly where everybody is as far as their educational pursuits, as far as their treatment goes. She is somebody that they can call if they have questions about any of their court participation, but also she's somebody that they can call if they have life problems. She's not a therapist, but she's somebody that can be used as a trusted backboard for advice, and she helps keep them on track, make sure that they know exactly what they're supposed to do. And then we also have a clinical director. Jackie Early is our contracted clinical director who does all of our initial mental health evaluations. Before we do court each week, we have a staffing where we sit down with the marshals, the case managers, the defense attorneys, the prosecutors, and we talk about each of the cases and see what sort of problems need to be addressed. Our clinical director appears at all of those staffings, lets us know if there's any issues as far as mental health problems, things that we can address as far as medication management, as far as reaching people through that approach. So I think with that sort of three-legged stool, we provide a really unique and effective way to address this combination of substance use and mental health and a youthful population.
So I also wanted to touch on peer support. So peer support is encouraged in YAR Court. Why is peer connection important for young adults?
I touched on this just a little bit when I talked about having our participants go into self-help meetings, things like AA or NA or Smart Recovery or workout groups or yoga. It is to develop a society, a cohort around them to give them support. There's been tons of research through SAMHSA, through All Rise, that show that pro-social activities and having that social safety net around you really improves your chances of success. So that's why we try to have all of our participants show up for court at the same time. We try to get them to know each other as people so that they do develop that network of friends and help. That's also why we're very particular in who we do let into the program. We want to make sure that we are having participants that are going to benefit from the treatment and that aren't going to be a detriment to the population. If you want to get into it a little bit more, there is a specialized program, peer recovery. They call it a peer recovery support specialist. A person who has gone through, they don't necessarily have to have gone through the YAR program, but it is a person who has gone through the recovery process and has been specially trained to help others go through this recovery process without being a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. But it's somebody who can kind of put your arm around the client and say, hey man, you got this. I was able to do it. These are some strategies on how you can tackle this problem.
So we've talked also about the kind of support, the different support groups that are around the participants going through YAR Court. So how does YAR Court balance that support with accountability, especially with participants who may struggle with consistency?
I think this is a problem that many specialty courts have is trying to find that balance between accommodating, helping, and holding somebody accountable. And it's a difficult calculation to make every day with each client. And I have to, as a judge, and we as a staff, have to kind of balance that accountability and that humanity. As I said before, I need to stress with my participants right off the bat, what I value is honesty and hard work. I don't expect perfection. I expect them to show up and to try hard, and I have to stand behind that. We have to, as a court, figure out ways to hold people accountable without putting them in jail. We have to figure out a way to have more creative sanctions that actually help to benefit the clients rather than to just strictly punish them. So you can do things to hold a client accountable if they are, not showing up on time. You can do things like providing them with a written calendar. You can show them how to fill that out. You can show them strategies on how to work with their iPhone, and then you can require them to do that and check on them the next week. You can have them do certain readings. You can have them do community service. There's lots of ways that the courts can enforce their requirements and make it a much more productive relationship with the client rather than just simply threatening them with jail every time that they don't do exactly what the court requires. And so it requires a bit of flexibility, a lot of flexibility on the part of not only of the bench, but of all of the staff that's involved also.
A good amount of creativity, it kind of sounds like, too.
Correct. And I must give lots of kudos to my staff. I can't think of all of this stuff on my own. I'm not capable of making all of these determinations with all of these clients. And so I have a great staff of clerks and marshals and caseworkers that help me come to creative and productive solutions if we do have somebody who's not compliant.
So you've mentioned the different community-based partners that YAR Courts works with. So how do these partners play a role in helping participants build stability outside of the courtroom?
I think that all of them, by being familiar with the specialty court model, are able to help establish that consistency of what's required in the court is also required in treatment, is also required in regular life. Things like showing up on time, showing up sober, showing up with a good faith effort and participating. Those are things that we can reinforce from step to step to step, and then hopefully that can work itself into their regular lives. And we are lucky to have some great partnerships in the community that have just developed through the hard work of our staff working with community partners. As I said, specifically for YAR Court, we have our partnership with Reno Stronger. Throughout our other specialty courts, we have We've developed a very close working relationship with Northern Nevada Hopes to do treatment, to do medical management, and it's a wonderful partnership. We have also developed a close working relationship with Crossroads, where we have people that are able to live there in a transitional living setting and also achieve the goals not only of the transitional living program, but also of the YAR program. We also have a partnership working with TMCC, as I talked about earlier. A large part of the goal is to give the participants the skills that they need moving on after the completion of the program. So working also with TMCC, specifically with their JIVE program, JIVE, which is the Justice-Involved Vocational Educational Program. But really what it is it's something where there's a specific person at TMCC that we can talk with that understands our population and that can help them get the services specifically that they need.
So my next question you've touched on already, but I find it really interesting and cool. So I want to give you the opportunity to expand on that. So with community partners, the program supports academic, vocational, and experiential learning opportunities. Is there anything you want to add to how those components contribute to long-term success?
Well, I think that it's this, the idea of a holistic approach towards helping somebody. If you help one aspect of their life, that is obviously going to bleed over into other areas of their life that have nothing to do with the court. If we can help to expand the horizons and the thought processes of these young people that are coming through the courts, that's only going to benefit them and benefit society as a whole. If you have a participant who never graduated from high school, thinks that school is nothing but misery, and has no real job skills, and you're able to take them on a field trip to TMCC where they can look at medical school, medical type education, culinary, trade school type things, you're going to hit that spark. You're going to help them understand that there is a bigger world out there, and then have, again, as I said earlier, those long-term behavioral changes, the long-term chances of success, and again, a happier participant at the end of the program.
That is cool. That enables those participants to kind of explore those interests that they've kind of been shut down to previously.
And I stress from every chance that I get that any educational opportunities that they have, whether it be through TMCC, whether it be through joining the unions, whatever the case may be, whether it be getting the peer recovery support certification, I try to explain to them that education is lifelong, that it is theirs, that it is valuable, and we try to expand their minds as far as that goes.
So an issue that can be difficult to overcome for young people is housing instability. So how does YAR Court address housing instability and transitional housing?
I wish I had a great answer for you on this, Seth. Housing affects everybody, right. And it affects this age group especially, I think, because they are in that transitionary period of figuring out whether they're going to live with their family or whether they're going to live on their own. Everybody knows that housing costs are increasing every time we look at them. What we've had to do is that we do not have the funding to be able to provide housing for our participants for any long-term basis. So we have worked very diligently to work with partnerships like Crossroads, to work with places like Life Changes, any other sort of transitional living empowerment center, transitional living places that we can possibly get somebody to at least get their foot in the door for the next step. We hope that if we can get somebody off the streets and give them a clean, sober place to live, then we've got one area taken care of, and then we can address the substance use issues and the mental health issues. If somebody's living on the streets, they can't really address those deeper underlying issues because they are living in a survival mentality.
Right.
And I wish that there was a great answer that we had housing for people to be able to move into, but that's not the case. We work with the city. We work with all charitable and non-government organizations that we can.
So on to one of my favorite parts of talking about treatment courts or diversion courts is impacts and outcomes. So from your perspective, from the bench, what changes do you see in participants over the course of the program?
With these younger participants, it's probably the best part of my week is to be able to see these people blossom as individuals, to see them gain a sense of purpose, to see them realize that they can succeed, that they deserve good things in their lives. And I think that a lot of times they haven't had that, and I get to see them come from really tough situations to a much better situation at the end. We get an opportunity, hopefully, to address some of the past issues that have been holding these people back. I could tell story after story after story, but one really that sticks in my mind was a recent graduate that we had who had struggled on and off with homelessness, went into the Crossroads program, did very well, but then thought, hey, man, I've got this dialed in, and moved out too early and struggled, was able to get back into the program. He got a job where he was given the keys to the store to be able to open and close the store. And the look on his face when he said, they trust me with the ability to open and close this store, he was almost walking on air, knowing that he was in that position. And that's invaluable to me. And that's the reason that I do this kind of work.
That is incredible to see someone who's gone through challenges like that to have that kind of pride in themselves when they're doing that kind of work. It's, well deserved, I'm sure. And that's amazing. And
we try to meet each client, each participant where they're at. Mm-hmm. Everybody's not going to become a store manager.
Right.
But if somebody has the ability to reconnect with their family, to reconnect with their children, to successfully close out a CPS case, those are the things that we love to see that are just as valuable as being able to get a case diverted or dismissed sometimes.
So, as you know, before we close out, a lot of my listeners are court professionals and judges, judicial officers. So if other courts were considering a young adult track, what key principles or best practices would you emphasize?
I think that the best thing that they can do, anybody who's starting up a program, is to look at what is working with other courts, mm-hmm. to properly train their staff. We have been fortunate enough. I worked both with Washoe County in the public defender's office and for the city of Reno in the city attorney's office, and as a judge. They were willing to send us to trainings. You go to things like All Rise conferences. You go to specialty court conferences that the Supreme Court and the AOC put on, and you learn what the best practices are. You have to be able to make that judicial mindset change from a punishment, punitive type mindset to a helping mindset. Especially with these younger participants, you have to have that mindset that you can't expect them to behave like 40-year-olds because they're not 40-year-olds. Right. You have to hold them accountable, but you have to do it with a little bit more of an understanding approach on what you do. And again, what we're trying to do to think about it is we hit them when they're young, and we can induce these changes that are going to last, hopefully, for a very, very long time.
And lastly, but certainly not least, for anyone listening, judges, court staff, attorneys who don't regularly work in specialty courts, what's one takeaway you would like them to remember about young adult offenders?
I'll say this again. I said it earlier. Working with this group of participants is the best part of my week. I get to see real change. We get kind of stuck in the drudgery of, especially in the criminal system, we get stuck in the drudgery of just dealing with case after case after case. Mm-hmm. And this is a way for us to step back as professionals and look at how we can individually help people, which will then come into that societal change. I would encourage anybody who's thinking about it to come watch any of the specialty courts at the Reno Municipal Court or any place else that they are being held in their community, and see the ways that the courts can positively impact their communities.
That's amazing. Well, Judge, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for sharing the great work that YAR Court and your staff are doing. It's clear its impact, and I'm excited to get the word out there and let everyone know about the good work YAR Court's doing.
Well, Seth, I really appreciate you taking the time to have me. As you can tell, I'm excited about this, and I want other people that are in the system to be as excited as I am.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
A heartfelt appreciation to our guest and to everyone who has tuned into this podcast. Before we wrap up, here are a couple of quick important reminders. For continuing legal education credit, be sure to complete a certificate of attendance and email it to jepodcast@nvcourts.nv.gov. If you have any questions, topic suggestions, or comments, we welcome your input. You can email us at jepodcast@nvcourts.nv.gov or submit your topic ideas to the topic suggestion form linked in the episode description. We value and look forward to hearing from our listeners. Stay tuned for more episodes of All Out Nevada. This is Seth Easley signing off. Take care, Nevada.